Maureen, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about your chapter in the Life Repurposed book, but also to tell us more about your story, which is an incredible story.
Well, thank you. I love being here, Michelle.
So I met you, I don't know, a long time ago, maybe through a writers group.
I think
Is that where we
so.
first met? Have we ever met in person?
No.
Okay, because I was trying to think, have we been at a writers conference together? No. Okay.
No.
We're going to have to make that happen sometime.
Yeah, I would love that.
So I want to pretend today, I've asked a few of the authors that I've interviewed, I've asked the question, if we were at a coffee shop today, sitting down and having a conversation, I'm a little nosy. I just want to know, what did you order?
I would order a coffee with a vegan creamer and probably a scone.
Oh, I haven't had a scone in a long time. I've been gluten-free for about 4 years, so that's probably how long it's been since I've had a good scone. The gluten-free ones are not great.
No.
Not the same. Well, hopefully we can do that someday and meet up at a real coffee shop and sit down and talk.
I would love that.
There are some amazing parts of your story. And I was trying to think, like, where do I want to go back to and asking Maureen about her story, because you have an incredible story that you tell in your book, and we're going to talk about that at the end of this episode. But I want you to tell me how you got to a place in your early 20s where you got connected with the wrong people. What brought you to a point where you got connected with the wrong people?
Well, I think that we all look for love and we all need love. And I was in a place where I didn't have that. My mother had left us, we came home from school, my brother, sister, and I, and she was gone. All her stuff was gone. And my dad said that she had left and she was not coming back. And she had never mentioned that to us. And so that like left this hole in my heart of despair and loneliness that, she would just leave us. And so, basically my dad took care of us. And so that was something that never left me. And so I was on a quest to belong somewhere. And a friend I had met at work told me about her boyfriend who was in this gang. And so one night I came along with her, and that's where I met Vigo, my next husband. And I just was captivated because they told me I would be part of their family, and all of these people would be my brothers and sisters. And I was so vulnerable. I didn't really know anything about a gang. So yeah, I was all in. Yeah.
So when people meet you, how many people are surprised when you tell them you were once part of a gang?
I'd probably say 100%.
Yeah, because you just don't exude the vibes of former gang member.
Well, I'm not that person anymore.
Yes,
Thank
that's
the
what's
Lord.
wonderful. Yeah, that's the whole repurposing that God does.
Yeah.
So what was it, we won't get into all of the details of being part of the gang, because one, you tell that in your book, and I want people to read your full story because I feel like the whole story, the big picture, is so important. But tell me a little bit about the struggles that you went through once you thought you found you belonged there. And then when did you realize you didn't really belong there?
Well, I started seeing things I wish I had never seen. When you're in a gang, a woman is like a second-class citizen. And see, that attracted me because I thought, oh, I'll be all taken care of and all. But that's not the case. You're actually someone's property. And what they tell you to do, you better do because, you could get a beating or I mean, it's just crazy. So I started to say, this is not for me. But I couldn't just walk away.
Yeah.
It's like a prison almost, you just don't have any of your old friends, any of your family, not that I really did anyway, but you're all just separated inside the gang.
Mm.
And I started to feel like I wanted to leave. I mean, I really was focusing on going to do it. And I had the unexpected turn that I was able to leave when I got shot. So that's why my book is called Love's Bullet, because
Yeah.
it was because of the God's love and him keeping me alive and watching over me, that got me out.
Yeah, so you talk about it sort of casually, like when I got shot, when you said that, and I thought, whoa, let's
Yeah.
back up there. So, so middle of the night, there was a raid.
Well, we were visiting in Texas and had only been at this clubhouse for a few days. But as soon as we got there, I knew there was a war going on
Mm.
between these two gangs. They're very protective of their territory,
Mm.
and it's amazing to me what they do to protect that territory. And so, sure enough, late one night, it was like early morning hours. Unbeknown to us, we had a couple guys out front of the house with M16 rifles.
Mm.
And I was in the front room, and we were told because of the gang thing that we were don't put a light on at night. Don't do that. Well, so I went in to look for a match, and when I couldn't find one, I flipped the light on for just what I going to be a second. And of course, that's when the shooting started.
Wow. The idea of lying in a hospital room for months
Mhm.
on end by yourself. I thought about that and I wondered like what went through your mind during that time?
Well, what really got me while I was like halfway through the journey there was that in my quest to find love and acceptance, this is where it landed.
Hmm.
And all and I was all alone. And if anyone is in the hospital, you need an advocate. You really do. And I didn't have one. So I'm relying on, the nurses or the doctor. Once in a while, a gang member would stop by to see me, but they weren't much of a help as far as
Mhm.
advocate. So I really, got to thinking where I was. My future was so uncertain. I had no idea what was going to lay ahead for me. And I already knew because I wanted to leave the gang before. So I knew that that had to be front and center on my,
Mhm.
I had to break the ties there. And I mean, Vigo basically dropped me in the hospital and left me. And fortunately, I had some wonderful nurses that did take care of me.
How did you move forward from that?
Well, in my distress, when I realized, the surgeries had been over, and basically it was like, okay, we're just leaving you here now. And so I called my dad.
Mm.
He was the only one that I felt, would be responsive, and he came right away. I hadn't seen him in a very long time, and so he came and he had a station wagon, and literally, I laid in the back of the station wagon while he drove from Texas to New Jersey.
Wow.
He had already arranged for the hospital in New Jersey. So he took care of everything, which, we didn't always have the greatest relationship. He didn't really express his thoughts and feelings, but he didn't need to do anything else. As
Mhm.
far as I was concerned from that point on, he was my hero.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your faith journey. So, when you were a child, did you have a relationship with Christ or did that come after you left the
N-
gang?
No, nothing. I mean, I believe there was a God. I always believed that, but I didn't know him. And I didn't think that much about him because I just kind of figured, well, what would he want with me? Church righteous people, and I just didn't see where the fit would be. But boy, I learned that he doesn't ask us to change. He didn't say, you got to clean up first.
Right.
He just opens up his arms and says, come. And over time, you go through all those different emotions, and you learn. And he's a very merciful God, very loving.
What was your first step of faith then? Was it in the hospital yet? Did you start reading a Bible or how did you take that next step?
Well, interestingly, I had some, I forget what you call 'em, nurse technicians that came in early. And of course, they had the Gideon's Bible there. And so they wrote in the back some Psalms for me. And they were like, really, you're going to read these? All right, I'll read them, but what for? But I did read them. And I think that was the very first step of me connecting with the Bible. And so they would come in and we'd have little chats, while they were working. But when I got back to my dad's house and I got settled in, I called um, I called a friend that I knew was kind of associated with the gang, but not so much into it as I was. And I called her and said, I'm back. And she brought over a slew of her youth group and came to see me. And that was surprised me because not only did I see a difference in her, but I really liked all these people that came. They weren't judgmental. They didn't preach to me. They just came, said a prayer, invited me to
Mhm.
church. And I was really impressed by that. And so the next week, I went to church. Um, and it was a baptismal service. And, I'm hearing all these testimonies of people like me, turn. And so I got home that night. Actually, I met a woman. We're still friends today. She's like my mentor, and she had got me a Bible that night. And as I went home, and when I got settled in bed, I thought, Lord, if you can do that for these people, could you do it for me?
Mhm.
And I really didn't know if that was true or not, but of course it was. That's what he's waiting for, is us to come to him. And so, yeah, that night I gave my heart to the Lord. And then fortunately, I had a good group of friends from this church that really, I mean, I didn't know anything about the Bible. So they really just kind of took me under their wing and walked me through it. And they were very happy for me. And of course, I didn't know at the time, but they had been praying for me for a
Mm.
while. So it was a God thing. Love's Bullet. It's on Amazon. Let me read my tagline. It's a wounded victim in a biker gang war, transformed by God's love. So it's on Amazon. It's in an ebook. You can also find it at Redemption Press and Barnes and Noble.
And your website is what?
MaureenHager.com. And if you go in there, there's a lot of resources, some of the things we were talking about. and also all my connections to social media.
Thank you so much, Maureen, for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you, Michelle. It was great to talk with you.